as well. All right, that's all of our meeting roles. This is going to be an interactive session. Darryle is also going to drop his PDF file back into the chat again, since we had several people who joined our session after he initially dropped his attachment into the chat, because we want everyone to have that. I've known Darryle for, oh gosh, 5, 6 years going on now. We've met because of Toastmasters district leadership. He gives really, really good hugs. And he is a distinguished Toastmaster. He is a past district director. He is a previous or prior region advisor. He is a military veteran. Thank you for your service, Darryle. He is retired law enforcement. Don't want to come up against him and get frisked or beat up by him. But he's also a business owner, a keynote speaker, an author, and a training specialist with the Bureau of Land Management. He is dedicated to educating, engaging, and inspiring others to become top achievers by offering different perspectives on motivation, empowerment, and morale boosting. If you think that today's session is sit back and we'll listen and tune out, you are wrong, because he will be calling on all of us and he will be engaging and wants that interaction. So be on your toes and be prepared. Let's welcome Darryle Brown today with the Brown, BROWN method of speech preparation for experienced speakers. Darryle, woohoo!
Oh, it is certainly a pleasure to join all of you today. When I looked at the website and I noticed it's an advanced club and it is about professional career speakers, I was really excited because I said, you know what? This is precisely the type of audience that I am excited to speak to, because we all share experience in public speaking. We're not brand new. We're not, this is not our first rodeo. We are not scared to death and holding on for dear life, giving our first icebreaker. Many of us here have speeches under our belts. We have either completed the communication program through the previous program we had, where we had competent communicator, advanced communicator, and so forth, or under pathways where we have successfully completed levels through our pathways process. That means that each of us have done more than one speech. That means that we have a little bit of experience and we have opportunities to really make the most of our progress as experienced speakers. But how many of you, like myself, started out right out the gate, was excited, giving speeches on a regular basis, but somewhere over the course of time, we kind of slowed down on the amount of speeches we've given, or we might have, due to whatever circumstances, work demands, number of other things, not necessarily because we no longer had an interest in speaking, or that we didn't want to continue with our progression. Things happened in life where we are not at the same level of progression we've had when we first started as speakers. In this presentation, I definitely want to interact with you as much as possible. I may call upon some of you to ask some questions, including some of you out there in Speak TV. Hello, Speak TV. It is a pleasure seeing you all out there as well. So if I don't necessarily know your name because you're out there, I will still call, hey, the person in the hat over there, or the person in the blue shirt. Please don't get offended if I don't know your name, because there's no way for me to know it, but that is okay. I still want to hear from you as we interact in this particular opportunity or this speaking engagement. There's a specific reason why I came up with this particular method that I'm going to share with you today. When I became a Toastmaster, and we're talking about next year in September marks my 20th year as a Toastmaster, I had a lot of goals, and I was really excited about the idea that maybe perhaps if I really nailed this thing, I could be the next Tony Robbins or one of those other Les Brown or one of those other great speakers out there. Uh, uh, and I was really excited about the idea that maybe perhaps I can get paid to do this kind of stuff, just like they're doing. Maybe I could write some books and really get out there and do my thing. And over the course of time, as a Toastmaster, I got better. So I stayed with this thing because it has really positively impacted my career in a variety of different areas, not limited necessarily to public speaking. But in my mind, as I was looking over the horizon toward my future, and I was thinking that maybe perhaps I can have an opportunity to perhaps get paid and maybe even do this full time. And I understand that we have some TEDx speakers here. We have a variety of other speakers who do this and get paid for it on a regular basis, or maybe even just on the side, which is absolutely wonderful. An opportunity several years ago came to me from a corporation who heard me speak elsewhere. And they offered me an opportunity to speak to their corporation. And the idea of this is showtime. They were going to offer me a substantial amount of money to speak to their people on a particular subject matter that I have a degree of knowledge and expertise on. And at first, I told them that maybe I could do it, but I know of some other people who might perhaps be better suited because they actually speak for a living. I did not have the experience at the time to this would have been my first speaking engagement, is what I'm saying. My first paid speaking engagement. I was excited and I was scared to death at the same time. And I said, maybe there's I know some other people who are really better suited because they already have the background to speak to your audience instead of me. But they did not want someone else. They wanted me. But I turned it down. I turned it down not because I didn't have the ability to speak. It was a new experience. And the reason why I turned that opportunity down, because I felt I was unprepared. I was unprepared to take that first step, even though I was an experienced speaker and they heard me speak elsewhere. In my own mind, I was thinking to myself, I'm not prepared to actually do this. I've dreamt about it. I envisioned it, and just maybe perhaps would have been my first opportunity to begin my journey as a paid public speaker, and I blew it because I made an excuse that I was not prepared to take that first step. even as an experienced speaker. And I think to myself, imagine if I took that step, I felt prepared, and I went and I knocked it out of the park. Not only would I've gotten paid a pretty nice chunk of change, but also word of mouth, as they say, is the best form of advertising. If they told someone else what my presentation was and how it made an impact on their corporation, I may have had newer opportunities and built my business from there. Folks, my lack of preparation left money on the table. My lack of preparation left future income potential on the table. And I realized in that moment, folks, that I never want to find myself never prepared and finding myself leaving money on the table because within myself, I felt I was unprepared. Done hundreds of speeches. I had no excuse, folks, as an experienced speaker, to leave money on the table and blow away future income potential. Same goes for you. Never, there was this one commercial that they had on it was I guess a deodorant commercial where they say, never let them see you sweat. You as an experienced speaker and as a Toastmaster, never let them see you unprepared is what I would say to you if you were faced with a similar situation. So I knew I needed to develop a strategy. I knew I needed to reshift my focus, my direction, if I wanted to see my vision. And I wanted to put myself in a position that no matter what opportunity comes my way, that I'd never blow it again. That I don't miss out on an opportunity, because I've been doing this for some time now. I had a chance to get paid. I'm not going to let that opportunity pass me by. I don't want that opportunity to pass you by either. And I want you to ask yourself, have you left yourself in a situation where you were unprepared and you lost out on potential revenue or a potential opportunity because you felt you were unprepared? Let's talk a little bit about that. So if I'm asking that question, have you felt out of practice or unprepared? I want to start with asking a question to some of you. Ruth, have you ever been in a situation where you felt out of practice or unprepared as an experienced speaker? Go
Yeah,
ahead, Nani.
yes, I have. Actually, I had put myself on the schedule to give a speech. I'm new to this club, by the way. I just joined a couple months ago. And the club I had been in, I usually got an opportunity to speak only about 3 or 4 times a year, which is not very much, which is one of the reasons why I left that club. And I realized that since I haven't quite yet started my speaking career, I'm an emerging speaker. And with the quality of the speeches in this club, I just took myself off the schedule because I didn't feel that I would have enough time to prepare to craft a speech that is good as I want it to be for this club.
Thank you so much. That's a reality. What Ruth just mentioned is a reality a lot of us have maybe perhaps faced in the times that we have been a Toastmaster, or we've had opportunities to align ourselves with more experienced speakers, or maybe perhaps some other scenario where we were in a position where we didn't feel quite as prepared, even though we had all our notes. We had the outline ready to go. We had maybe perhaps some practice or so, but still that lingering feeling sometimes can really inhibit us from really being able to have the confidence we need to have to give it the go that our audience deserves from us. Thank you so much, Ruth. Dexter, how about you? Have you ever felt in a situation that you were out of practice and unprepared, but they called upon you and it was showtime?
Actually, I had a very similar experience in the past. I was in this advanced club to do my practice for a speech contest for that particular year. And after a couple of months, one of the officers called me if I could be one of their keynote speakers. And I will be just discussing about my country back, the Philippines. I know that the subject was very familiar to me. It's very close to my heart, but I just don't have the confidence. I felt I was unprepared for myself, and I have that fear that I did not beat to speak up on that advanced club. And until now, that's what I'm trying to catch on. I'm trying to face the challenge to be prepared anything and anywhere that could be your stepping stone to do your passion in the future.
Excellent. So when I'm thinking about when I hear the testimonies of Dexter and Ruth, and also my own personal experience, a lack of preparation is like kryptonite to our confidence. So think about that when you're not quite in that state of preparation as an experienced speaker, that it can really have a profound impact on your confidence, even though you've given speeches before in the past, some of which, especially if you're venturing in unfamiliar territory as a speaker, and you're just thinking in your mind, oh my gosh, I haven't done a speech like this before. I don't know if I'm ready to really do this speech. There are ways in which we can be prepared regardless of what the scenario calls for, but I will talk about that a little bit later. I just want to hear one more testimony from a member of Speak TV. I believe I see someone there with a blue shirt on. Doesn't really narrow it down, but let me hear from someone in there and give me your name and share a little bit about, have you ever felt out of practice or unprepared?
My name is David.
And unmute, by the way, too.
Oh, no, I got it.
Hello, David.
Yeah.
Which unmute on yours? Yeah, that's better because otherwise.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning. My name is David Kokel. I am the president of Speak TV. As it turns out, even more of a fear of public speaking is a fear of public failure. So in response to your question, no, I have never been unprepared. I've stayed up all night fretting, worrying, and redoing speeches, but I have never been caught unawares. The closest I've been is table topics, and I just roll with it. Now, I have been gifted with some good confidence that I've developed over years. But my fear of public failure is so strong that I just will not allow that myself to be held in ridicule by the public because of a shortcoming on my part.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for that. Fear of public failure overrides a lack of preparation. I like how you said that. Well, let's look at something totally different here when it comes to preparation as well for us to consider. Keith, let's say you're in a situation where you're at work and there's supposed to be a presenter who is supposed to present this great presentation or so, but they call in sick. They know you're a Toastmaster. They know you have experience speaking, and you didn't prepare for it. You had no, you were a part of the audience, but they know that you're a Toastmaster and you have experience, so they ask you to do it. Would you feel prepared in that particular type of scenario?
Well, Darryle, I definitely don't think I'd feel prepared, but I also feel like, I got to put myself in uncomfortable situations. It was like when we did the preparation for the TEDx talks, I was really debating that, again, the fear of public failure, like most everybody has. And I just prepared. I did stuff I never done before, put myself in uncomfortable positions, went to other clubs and spoke. And hopefully all that training would help me do it, but it would be scary.
Understood. That scenario I mentioned to Keith actually happened to me. We were bringing in an outside speaker, my HR team, and for whatever reason, this person couldn't make it. I believe he was under the weather. They knew that I was a Toastmaster, and I always spoke big about being a Toastmaster, and they asked me to do the presentation. And even though I wasn't prepared to do it, wasn't expecting to do it, I knew I needed at that time to step up and make the most. Fortunately, they had slides and a number of other tools that I could use to improvise and be able to do it. But imagine if I had no experience at all, yeah, that would have been a really scary situation. But I got through it. They thought that I did very well. And even though I wasn't prepared to give the presentation, it turned out, and that was all thanks to my experience as a Toastmaster. So that's when table topics and a number of other opportunities to speak really pay off. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for your input. The purpose of this presentation is to bring many of us, even as experienced speakers, from being in a position where we lack the confidence or unprepared, like I felt at my first opportunity, to becoming completely confident and ready to go, to be able to deliver to an audience the way I intended to when I envisioned it long before I was in the position I was in. The goal here is to be in a continual state of preparation, any time, any place, and any audience. And how many of you would love to be in that type of situation? So go ahead and a show of hands if you would love to be in a continual state of preparation, anytime, any place, any audience. I believe in seeing the raised hands. It's important for all of us. We all want to be in that continual state, especially as experienced speakers, because you never know who your audience is going to be. And they're going to be, especially if they know you have a background and experience in speaking as a Toastmaster, They know what Toastmasters does. They know what it does as far as a positive impact on those who dedicate themselves to communication development. They're going to be looking to you. They're going to, you're going to be that person that they're going to look to say, hey, can you help us here? And wouldn't it be great to, regardless if you don't feel necessarily as prepared as you like to be, that no matter when that opportunity comes up, you step into it, especially if you're getting paid. So what can Brown do for you? As many of you know, my last name is Brown. And what can I do for you? I took that, hey, don't tell UPS that I stole it from them. But nonetheless, that should have been my logo. What could Brown do for you? And in our case, it is about to help you always be prepared. So what I'm going to do is share with you some things here and interact with you so that we can go to a new mindset, which will in turn produce new results. The thing is, some of us as experienced speakers, we can over time put ourselves in a box where we're still adapting old habits that have not changed since we first became a Toastmaster. Many of us had mentors that they told us you should practice, should always be prepared for that opportunity for you to speak. And in the beginning, most of us, I believe, were really prepared. We really got in there and dedicated ourselves because we wanted to become better at public speaking. But if we're not working to keep our skills sharp on a regular basis, our mindset won't change. We won't produce new results, and then we tend to slow down. I don't want any of you to slow down because there's more progression for you to start to experience. And it all boils down to how much you prepare yourself and stay in that continual state of preparation when those opportunities come up. Thus, my strategy that has helped me to not lose out on an opportunity in the future, or if someone calls me tomorrow and they say they want me to speak at their corporation or some other speaking engagement and they want to pay me, I am not going to turn it down. And I decided to put together a strategy that's going to help me to always be in that right frame of mind, have the confidence I need, and know that I'm always going to be prepared no matter what opportunity comes my way for me to be able to reap the rewards of those opportunities. And for you, I want you to reap those same rewards as well. Thus, I came with the BROWN method of speech preparation for experienced speakers. I also have one for emerging or new speakers as well, Ruth, just in case, maybe this, I do another presentation in the future, but also for emerging speakers and new speakers, I have some basics that really help them to put a good foundation on being prepared to speak and develop great skills, great habits to ensure that they stay on the right track well into becoming an experienced speaker over time. So with BROWN, I'm going to share with you 5 tips, which, as you can see here, is the reason why I have the hyphenated initials for Brown. Your 5 tips are as follows. Build. What are we thinking about when it comes to build? This is what B stands for, and we're thinking about building something, that means that there has to be a good foundation. Your good foundation is your experience. You've given speeches before. You have worked on your development as a speaker. Some of you, you've given maybe 30, 40, 50 speeches. Some of you may have given 5. But if you've given even just 5 speeches, this is something that I want you to begin to build on. Build on your speech portfolio. Excuse me. You know what I regret as an experienced speaker? I know for a fact in my 20 years that I've given speeches, that I have given well over 350 speeches during that course of time. But here's what I regret with that, folks. During that course of time, a majority of those speeches were one-time speeches only. Excuse me. One-time speeches only. I imagine prior to me putting together this strategy, I thought to myself that imagine if I recorded all of those speeches, I kept all my notes to those old speeches. Some of them I have recovered. I have, and I am using them again to this day. I would have one heck of a speech portfolio. The reason why this is really important for you as an experienced speaker, if you've given 5 speeches, you already have a speech portfolio. Did you know that? If you didn't, here's what I want you to do. Start thinking about those speeches you've done in the past that you've either recorded, that you've written down. Put them in a file. Put them in a file and take advantage of the opportunity of using that as a portfolio. And so, well, Brother Brown, yeah, I given that speech, but it was just meant for that time. Not necessarily, because here's the thing. If you're talking about your personal life in a speech, let's say your icebreaker, for example, and you talked about how you were faced with a situation, a challenge, and you overcame it. And you gave that speech as your icebreaker. That speech is timeless. You can give that same speech over and over, and it could get better every single time. Here's how it gets better every single time, and how this can make you prepared for any speaking opportunity that you have regardless of the situation. Your story, your personal story is absolutely timeless. You get evaluations each and every time you give a speech. The purpose of you giving speeches and getting feedback is to help you improve your communication skills. What people don't understand is this, is that you get the biggest benefit out of your Toastmasters experience by building your speech portfolio. The thing is this, stop putting yourself under so much pressure to having to do a new speech each and every time you are called upon to be a speaker. What you can do instead, those 5 speeches you have in your portfolio, or your 40 or whatever, pull one of those speeches out, pull out the evaluation sheet, look over the notes and the feedback you get, tweak that speech, practice it, give it again, and keep improving upon that speech. There are no rules that say you absolutely have to do a brand new speech each time you are called upon to give a speech in your club or other speaking opportunities. Because really the bottom line is that our goal, I seriously doubt that anyone join Toastmasters say, well, my goal is to do a brand new speech each and every time to improve my public speaking, to improve my speaking skills. None of us came in to do that. Our goal has been to become a better speaker, to improve our communication skills. So with that, why not polish some of those speeches you've used in the past, give them again and again, and bring them to perfection and keep improving upon it. And that means that, let's say that you're called upon to give a speech at the last minute. Well, you have a speech in your portfolio that you can pull out and say, hey, I've been practicing this speech. I've gotten feedback and I keep improving it. And this is an opportunity to show how much more I've improved. That will help you to realize that your past speeches is wealth waiting to happen. Imagine a speech that you've done more than once and you have an opportunity to speak to a brand new audience. That very same speech that you've been polishing up and making better and better. That's wealth opportunity, folks. Imagine yourself giving a speech, possibly a paid speech, to a new audience, a corporation, and you've been working on that speech and giving it over and over until it's to a place of perfection. That new audience who doesn't know the backstory think that you're one of the greatest speakers they've ever heard, not knowing the secret sauce was that you built a speech portfolio that has helped you prepare yourself for that moment or that opportunity to impact that audience in a very special way, using valuable evaluations that we get in our meetings, each and every meeting that we have. The problem with some of us, maybe I want you to think about this if it's happened to you, that we don't use the evaluations and the feedback to its fullest potential to make our messages that much more impactful for our audiences. I want you to think about your past speeches, dig them out, dust them off, go and use the feedback that you've had, deliver those speeches over and over again. I don't care if it's your icebreaker. Give your icebreaker multiple times, get that feedback, build your portfolio. And believe me, that no matter what opportunity comes your way, you will be ready. R stands for research. And research is really important because it adds to credibility. Most of us these days, we're inundated with disinformation, claims of truth and fact, and you could get so much distortion on the internet and social media that it's really important that when you research, that you get it from credible sources. Is it Bajan, sir? What is? I don't want to butcher your name. What is your first name?
First name is Bijan. Last
Bijan.
name
Okay.
is Zaire. Yes.
Bijan. When it comes to research, why is that important when you're delivering a speech, particularly on subject matter?
As a university professor, first of all, we always have to be prepared. And then the students and our audience expect to see that we have done our homework. you have done our research so that we can deliver the information that it is possible that they are hearing for the first time. So I cannot emphasize it more to have credible research that you can present. And of course, if you can add code from well-known authors and speakers, that will add that much more.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Irma, was there a time in which research paid off tremendously in enhancing your message to your audiences? And if there was, tell us how that impacted your audience.
She may not be online.
I am
Okay,
back.
good. All right, cool.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for that opportunity, Darryle. It's a good question. I not only did my TEDx talk on immigration, but I speak on immigration, which means I have to know my numbers. I have to do my research. And I just spoke at Oxford University in the UK. So I have to do the research for every country where I speak, first of all. I also have to be very careful that I get it from credible sources. So I can do it from the like Canada statistics or USA statistics or immigration or whatever the case might be. But I have to have the research. And I also make sure that I give credit to where I got the research from. Because if I give the wrong information, I could not only cause people to get very resentful, because immigration is a very sensitive topic at the moment, but also,
Yes, it is.
yeah, right. And also people can get the wrong impression. So I make sure that my research, that it is actually, I can relate it back to credible resources. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's that much more critical in this day and age for us to ensure that we cite sources, cite credible sources, that if we're in our speeches, that we are ensuring that our message is well researched, that it puts us that much more in a state of preparation that we need to be, because the things that we research, we know will reinforce our message. Those are the things that we're going to remember the most, because when that opportunity comes for us to speak and we realize that, especially if you have a Q&A after your presentation, you want to make sure that the information that you give is well researched enough where you don't find yourself hammered by criticism because you gave information that wasn't credible. And no one wants to put themselves in a position to be embarrassed. So it adds credibility when you know that you're citing good information, good sources in a world filled with disinformation, propaganda, and utter nonsense. And you don't want to be that person that want to be looked at differently because your message is not authentic based on bad research. Thank you so much for that, Irma, and thank you, Bijan. And so research can mean a variety of different sources, whether it's from a search, whether it's from a website, analysis, data, whatever type of research or information you give, you want to ensure that it's an objective source. Now, if you're talking about a subject that, let's say politics, for example, much as I hate politics, and it's relevant to the subject of politics, it's understandable if it's based on the type of research that's relevant to that. But ensure that the information that you share is relevant to the message that you're sharing, because that will ensure also that any question that comes up in the Q&A, you are ready to go. And you can say, this is where I found this information. The types of, how do I determine, I know this is another question some of you would think, how do you determine what's a credible source? In fact, I want to ask someone here, how do you determine what's a credible source? Let's go, Ruth. Ruth, since you have your hand up, go ahead.
Well, way back in the 1980s, I was a researcher and writer on Jeopardy! And we started off the show by using one credible source. And pretty soon we realized there is no such thing as one credible source, that we had to double source everything. And soon we found that double sourcing may not quite be the answer either, because sometimes your sources conflicted in their information, and that yet on the surface they both look like credible sources. And so you will if you're working in a topic for which there is not a lot of agreement, or let's just say there are all kinds of ideas out there, you have to do a lot of research, and you need to look at primary research, which means like experiments, as well as secondary research. But one thing that I've learned from doing so much research online, and I'm in the middle of this right now with a book I'm writing, is that you want to go with a credible source, but then you want to ask questions of that credible source and see how it relates to somebody else who's a credible source, until you're satisfied that you have an answer that you can give others.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and what happens online is that a lot of people read something and then they just go, oh, okay, this is how it is, and they put it on their website. There are so many people who have websites, they just parrot each other, and it's maddening because you don't know where they got their information. So research today, yeah, is not what it used to be.
You definitely raised some excellent points. And the lessons learned when you're seeking credible sources, take nothing at face value. That's the first step when it comes to critical analysis, is don't take anything at face value. And typically, credible sources don't have a problem with their information being challenged or being questioned. And some of the most credible sources that I like, first and foremost, if I find them to be objective, that's really important to me. But also, did they say, don't take my word for it. Go out and do further research, explore it further. Find other corroborating sources that will reinforce what I have to say. And if what I have to say is not what you believe is on point with or consistent with what other peers may say, then you're free to challenge me on it. Liz, go ahead.
Okay, great. Grace has something to say.
You know, are you in the question phase of things still?
Oh, not yet, but go ahead. Just one more interaction, and I'm going to move on to my next.
Well, I just was wondering, when you were talking about research, did you have a methodology that you found the easiest for accessing later? Do you like Google Drive or a Kanban board, or is there some way when you're doing all this compilation of research that you actually organize it? That's my biggest problem. I know I have it, and then it's somewhere.
Well, I definitely look at what's important to me is that when I am doing a research on a particular subject matter, and I find out who are the experts and who are not, and their credentials, their background, things that they've been quoted as saying before. Has some of their information been challenged? Has it been debunked? A number of other things. I want to corroborating sources, so I don't limit my information to just one source, even if I believe it's credible, but I'm looking at multiple sources that I deem credible based on their history or a number of other things. And then I make a decision based on my final analysis of all of these. And I have no problem asking questions or taking it critically. And every bit of information you receive, you should come at it with a critical analysis of it, in addition to not taking it at face value. All right, thank you so much, everyone. So next, it's important to, it's for observe the audience response. Are they engaged? Are they listening? Are they paying attention, or they're doing something else because what you're sharing is not necessarily working for them? Or are they really into it? Like, holy smokes, those things are really important when you are delivering a presentation. And if it's not working the way you intended, give that speech again, observe the audience response, and see what works once you make the improvements. Audience response is really important to know that you're on target when it comes to delivering your speech. When it comes to preparation, these are the things that you want to think about when you deliver that speech the first time. What worked, what didn't work, and what should I do next to move forward to ensure that I'm delivering the message or the speech the way I intended it. And a big part of your preparation, when you give that speech again, observe the audience response. It will yield dividends for you when you give that speech in the near future. So if they're raising their hands, they're asking questions, and you're getting feedback or you're getting interaction from them, that means that you're really on target when it comes to that audience response. If their body language shows that they're really interested, they're enjoying what you have to say, if you can insert humor in it, that's even better, because it's in those times of enjoyment, Dr. Ralph Smedley said, is the time where people learn best and they remember your speeches. W stands for work. And work what, Brown? Well, work the stage. Well, I know that we're in this box this time around, and I know I've moved my hands a little bit. I've gotten into the screen as much as I could at giving you eye contact in this little box. But normally, a lot of times that you're going to find yourself on stage, or you may even need to prop your video camera where you are able to stand and work the stage as well. There are many different opportunities for you to do it, but working the stage is important for your preparation as well, because when you get ready to go on stage, prior to, know what the stage looks like, make sure that the audio is working the way you need it to work, make sure that there are no mishaps that will keep you from being able to deliver your speech the way you intended. And the audio as well as the visual is really important for your preparation as well. What I typically do before I give a presentation, I want to know what the staging room looks like. I want to know when I get up on the stage, what areas I can stand, how I'm going to give this particular speech when I'm making key points, where I'm going to move, where I'm going to be located. Are there any mishaps or any, not mishaps, but any kind of areas that might be a tripping hazard or whatever. Be as prepared as possible for you to speak, to avoid any mishaps when you're on stage. You want this thing to go as crisp and fluid as possible. Work the stage, make the most of the audience, engage them. And folks, I know that a lot of us are used to limiting ourselves to the stage area, but it is okay to get off of the stage and directly engage the audience as well. That also enhances the interest that your audience has as well in your speech, and that all eyes are on you. Think about that before you get on the stage on what you believe you're going to do before you even give your first word when the actual showtime occurs. Work that stage, make the most of it, have that audience eating out of your hand. And that's going to make a real difference. And a lot of us experienced speakers don't take advantage of working the stage. Even on Zoom, we don't take advantage as much. Start doing that, because that's what's going to really help you in your preparation and in your mindset when you're getting ready to get on stage. And just like this person here, show of hands, ready to go, you're showing confidence. If you've already prepared yourself by seeing what your staging area is and what you have to work with, you won't have to look confused or what your next moves are, and that each movement you make will be purposeful, and you'll ensure that the audience will really see you functioning confidently and showing that you're prepared. And N stands for note your progress. After you have continually worked on building your portfolio and you're tweaking those speeches and you're using all of the other aspects of your preparation, be sure to note your progress. Write it down and be sure to see that, hey, I have come a long way from being not as prepared as I used to be, but now I have confidence to move forward because I'm ensuring that each time I'm giving that speech, it's getting better and better. Note that progress. See yourself moving up and becoming a better, more prepared, experienced speaker, and you will yield dividends when that right opportunity occurs. So let's recap. B stands for build. Build on your speech portfolio. I can't emphasize that enough, folks. That's what I've been preaching the most in this entire presentation. Build on your speech portfolio and make sure that there are no one-offs. Do those speeches over and over again to perfection. You have the speeches available at your disposal. It's wealth waiting to happen. Take advantage. Research to add credibility. Ensure that you use credible sources. Take nothing at face value, and ensure that when you deliver that, when people ask questions, you'll be ready to give a solid and intelligent response. Observe your audience response. What worked? What didn't work? Tweak it. Make it better. The next time you give your speech, you'll be better prepared. W, work the stage. Before, during, and after. What worked well? Ensure that when you get ready for showtime, you're good to go. And lastly, note your progress. And when you note your progress, you'll see how far you come. And each time you'll be in that state of preparation each time, because you're devoting yourself to good habits to ensure that you're always prepared and you're always confident. So always be prepared, folks, and you'll always be ready when it's showtime.
Darryle, thank you so much. I've actually used a few of your ideas. I keep a running list of every meeting that I attend, what my role is. I just have a spreadsheet going down. I was a test speaker for a contest the other night. I thought it was an hour later than what I had in my mind. And about 2 minutes before it started, I got a phone call. Chris, are you still planning to be our speaker tonight? Yeah, I've got a whole hour. No, you've got 2 minutes. I did not give the speech that I intended to give. I had to change on a moment's notice because I thought I had an hour to prepare it. Went over really well, but it was because it was content that I had previously given for the main part of it, but I was able to incorporate some different changes. Not that any of the audience members there had heard it in the first place, but that I think is what it's all about. Taking what you have, changing it up, and reusing it with your different audiences and even with the same audiences, because you're always going to get new feedback. You think, I'm giving the same speech, but it's really, you never give the same speech twice. It's always going.
Exactly.
It is always going to be different somehow. At this time, let's transition over to our general evaluator, Irma.
What am I supposed to say? It's all good. Darryle, thank you so much for sharing with us your little nuggets of wisdom. I think we all took some notes and we really appreciate what you have done. I would like to know if Speak TV, if you had anything to say about the meeting as our guest today.
Yeah, we're unmuted. So, okay, we have lots of things to say. First of all, thank you for letting us piggyback on your meeting because we were a little short on programming. Lots of great ideas. Who knew that we had a Jeopardy question writer in our midst? And so interesting too to know that there's so many TEDx speakers. So we are among giants. Anybody else want to weigh in quickly? No?
Just want to mention, I was in the Jeopardy talent pool for a while. They didn't call me because they didn't have 3 stories for Alex.
Okay. But yeah, well, good. And our meeting just ended like 12 minutes ago, so we're going to go. But thank you for letting us join you. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye from Wisconsin.
Well, that was the evaluation. What else can I say? We started on time.
Hang on. Point of order.
Oh.
Ruth is actually going to give us an evaluation, a regular coach evaluation.
Ooh, Ruth,
Yes.
as my official helper. Then for that reason, I need the timing report, please.
Darryle came in at 1 hour exactly.
Yeah, it's what Chris said.
Yes.
All right, Ruth, could you give us the evaluation of our very interesting meeting today?
Absolutely. My goodness, this is the first time I'm evaluating a workshop as opposed to a, like a 10-minute speech. So, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Darryle, wow, you did a great job in covering a subject that is so important for us. You and of course, using an acronym makes it easy to remember. And what acronym did you use? Of course, it's your name. In general, you were comfortable. You were well prepared, right? And you were dressed appropriately because this wasn't like a formal situation. This was an informal kind of meeting. And now I know you want some feedback of what could be enhanced or improved for next time. So I made some notes. At the beginning, I noticed you were looking everywhere but in the camera. And maybe you were not quite comfortable. You tried to act comfortable, but you didn't quite feel comfortable at the beginning. So that's understood. When you were putting up the slides and you were in a little box, there were times when I wished the slides weren't up so long because we already got the point, and we would come back to you as the main speaker we were looking at. But then when you were in a box, you got better because you got more animated. And when you were more animated, it felt better to be looking at you as a little box, because there was something moving around. Let's see. Oh, I noticed 2 typos, I guess. The words anytime and any place, those are 4 words, not 2 words, as far as I know. And I don't know if it bothered anybody else. Now, you did call us folks. That's a little bit old-fashioned. I don't know how much that's still being used. I don't know how anybody else felt about it. I personally would have preferred if you just called us Toastmasters instead of folks. Let's see. I love the summary at the end because it brought it all together, and we could write it down and make a couple notes like, oh yeah, now I got it all. Let's see. That's pretty much it. You did a great job, and we all learned something important. So thank you for your presentation, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Ruth, for your very succinct and direct evaluation. Darryle, you got this. You can take it. Ruth is a tough woman, but she gave us some feedback and she told us a few things that I think all of us can actually learn from. So thank you for that, Ruth. That being said, overall, we had a great meeting. We started on time. We lost one of our speakers, our president, because she's feeling a little bit under the weather. And thank you, Chris, for standing in as our presiding officer this morning. I appreciate you. I bow to you. We can all learn from your professionalism and from the way you very smoothly created a meeting with roles that could run the way it did. Mr. Timer, thank you for not saying a word when I asked you for the timing, because Chris said the words. So
Well,
I am
Chris, was
sure.
working the team.
I am
Didn't even
sure
have to move my mouth, and it was right there.
it was the words coming out your mouth, and it kind of then came through Chris's mouth. Okay, that's the way it is. All in all, once again, thank you everyone for a great meeting. If Dexter, if you're interested in joining this club, I am around. I like to take other people's money. Unfortunately, I don't get to keep it. It goes into Toastmasters International's kitty. So it totally bypasses my bank account. It's really sad. And especially the Canadian rate versus the loonie. If you guys don't know the loonie, it's a dollar coin that means so little at the moment compared to the American dollar. So yeah, I could have. Anyway, but I wanted to say, please sign up for next week's meeting, because as a club and as the evaluator, I know that also when I'm a Toastmaster, one of the other roles, it's tough. It's tough to do a club meeting if not everyone is signed up. So I appreciate everyone signing up and being there for the rest of us so that Chris can stop shining in this club and someone else get to shine a little bit. That being said, thank you very much for a wonderful meeting. Darryle, thank you. Thank you for visiting us, for sharing with us your thoughts, with your great experience. And I know that the US just had your Veterans Day. Canada just had Remembrance Day as well. Thank you for your service. We truly honor and respect for what you've done for us to be able to have these wonderful meetings and to be able to continue our lives. I appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to give the meeting back over to our wonderful host, Toastmistress Chris.
Thank you so much, Irma. I'm actually going to call on Dr. Bajan to give the counter report.
I don't know where to start. No, really. I mean, as professional presenters and speakers, you are so impeccable and so wonderful. It is very difficult to catch anything. But we need to just watch certain things. Sometimes we get used to it, such as, okay, or repeating the word immediately. It is important, I imagine, for example, or anything that distracts the audience. So please remember, we are striving to be the best and keep up the good work. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much for that report. I do want to share a little bit of club business. Irma, I don't know if you're reaching to raise your hand or you're just reaching for the claw. I do want to thank all of our members. We, as professional career speakers, we have achieved 4 of our 10 Distinguished Club program goals. And this week alone, we have had 4, count them 1, 2, 3, 4 education awards submitted for our club. Congratulations to Irma for Strategic Relationships Level 3. Yay. And I finally completed and I got submitted my presentation mastery levels 2, 3, and 4. And I have one more speech to give to complete level 5 and the reflect on your path for the entire path completion, which will also be given to our club. We are always looking for additional members because we always have to focus on that membership requirement. Darryle, you are welcome to come back at any time. And if you decide you'd like to join our club, we would love that. We do things a little slightly different here at our club. You may have noticed on our agenda today, we did not have table topics. At Professional Career Speakers, we only offer table topics the first Saturday of the month. And then that third Saturday, we have a workshop. Next month, our workshop presenter is Gina Glover. Again, another one of my District 35 peeps. She is going to be talking about networking. Focus on the 5th question. So it's going beyond just, hi, my name is, and what is your name? What can you do for me? But networking, it's that give and take. So she'll be going into that and networking. Again, this is how I've gotten our workshop speakers this year. And networking is a great way for you to establish those relationships and get those speaking commitments. So I encourage everyone, come on Saturday, December 16th. I will be posting out information probably later next week about it, starting to promote her session. I will be transferring today's recording and hopefully getting that uploaded soon for Darryle. Oh, what else? Oh, if any of our members are interested in competing in the International Speech Contest on Saturday, December 9th, we are going to have a showcase for our club members who are interested in competing. We don't have enough numbers to hold an actual contest, but we will have a showcase. I have 2 members who are planning to compete right now. Martin Schuler and Kelly Wilburn, newer member, but she has been a member of Toastmasters for quite a while. And so we will do our poll of vote for best speaker like we normally do at the end of a meeting. We are not voting for best functionary today. We have our best speaker, Darryle, our best coach of Ruth today. Yay. And let's see what else. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order or comments, suggestions, criticisms, concerns to bring up? Well, hearing none, we're going to end 5 minutes early. Meeting adjourned. Bam.
Thank
And
you
I
so
know
much,
next-
everyone.
Thank you, Darryle. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes,
Hugs.
thank you, Darrell, once again.
You bet. You bet. I
Thank
look
you,
forward to
Darrell.
visiting you again sometime in the near future. Yes.
Hope so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Come on back.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Right.
Yay.
Take
All
care, everyone.
right. Everyone, I wish
Thank
you
you.
happy Thanksgiving and
Double,
enjoy. Have a
double.